Hey guys, welcome to episode 12 of the TheLumpyRim Podcast. I'm here with your host, Mike Evans, and we're going to talk about bikes today.
Oh, yeah. I'm here with my lovely wife, Jenna Evans, and she is going to be episode 12, and she is the only reason we actually have this podcast. So, moving into episode 12, this is one that I've been thinking about for a long time, and Jenna, as you know, the only reason I've finished any of these crazy races is because of you.
I wouldn't really say that.
Oh, I would. I mean, think about, so you drove Sagwagon for me the second time for the Crusher this year.
You bet I did, all 30 hours of it.
So last year you said you enjoyed the Crusher more than the Margie Gessick. Why is that?
Well, when you're running support crew, it's really cool to be able to see a lot of awesome places. And I feel like I enjoy...
You gotta move a little closer to the mic, Jen.
Can you just cut that part out?
Yeah, I can. Okay, I told you, we had you on the show. You can't just laugh the whole time. Oh my gosh. All right, anyways, back on track about the Crusher, which is my first 220-mile mountain bike race, and I ended up finishing in 24 hours last year, I think.
So, 2019 Crusher.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a point-to-point from Copper Harbor through, Houghton and Lawns all the way to Marquette. So it was cool because I was kind of familiar with, the Copper Harbor end of things, but not as much, in between Copper Harbor and Marquette. So it was fun because I got to see a lot of stuff that I had never really seen before. And if you compare the Crusher to Margie's really condensed, so you don't really, get out into the middle of nowhere like you do in the Crusher, even for support crew.
Yeah, so, what places, would you recommend anybody driving Sagwagon for the Crusher? What have we done? Because I just want to say, 2020 Crusher, your support for our crew, we had it just about every 30 to 35 miles. So every 4 hours or 3 hours, it was spot on. And I think anybody that did it, in the group that I did it with, can attest to that the only reason any of us have ever finished that is because there was a cooler full of Cokes and a couple candy bars in the back of an F-150 in the middle of nowhere. But you also did break a skid plate off of the truck this summer, I hear.
Yeah, it got pretty rough out there for me, too.
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess when you're planning support stops, I always just look at the map and kind of find where the easiest access points are, and, if there's towns or, main access roads. This
Right.
year for the Crusher, there's not a whole lot of access roads to a lot of it. So just finding, what roads are drivable. If you don't know, ask a local or be careful about it. But some of the spots this year that I really enjoyed in the loop route of the Crusher, up in, I forget what the name of that town is, Scanny? If you get up there, there's, at the mouth of the Huron River, there's a really awesome sandy beach, and you could actually, camp on this beach. Mm-hmm. When I was there were a bunch of people just camped out. So that would be a really cool, picturesque spot. And then there's also a park, a state park, I think it is, not too far away. And there's some waterfalls where I, took Scout and we played in the waterfalls for a little bit to kind of cool off and hang out while we waited.
Who's Scout?
Scout is our, 2-year-old Catahoula dog.
Yeah, I think the Crusher, there's a really good picture on our Instagram, Facebook of Scout in the back seat of the truck, just, sprawled out over a duffel bag or something the next day. But yeah, I think we both were pretty beat up after the Crusher this year. I mean, I was especially just because we went through the hurricane in the last 4 hours or 3 hours of the race. But I remember rolling into Forestville, and we had, just finished 248 miles, and been so cold and soaked for 2 or 3 hours trying to finish the chunky summit in. And I'm like thinking, oh, there's going to be this awesome, huge tent set up and everything. And I actually knocked on the door of the truck to wake you up. And I'm pretty sure you just rolled over. But that was pretty good. And then thank you, Bryce and Paul. But also, Velodrome Coffee Company, thank you for being our main sponsor for the TheLumpyRim Podcast. We really appreciate all the support and the coffee subscription plans that you guys offer. We're definitely on that. It's pretty nice having the Velodrome show up every month right to our door. So back to your show. So Jenna, now that you moved on and you've supported, how did you kind of, because now you are signed up for the Margie Gessick 50 for 2021. What kind of made you want to do that?
Well, yeah, so I signed up for the Margie for this fall, so it would be, coming up here in the next month. Margie got canceled, and that was kind of a heartbreak. It changed a lot of people's plans just with how things went this year. I guess I didn't really start biking a lot for me until this spring, and Margie was kind of a big reason for that. For me, working more on skills and working on getting time on the bike more regularly. So with it being my first, I would say more competitive year, I had a couple races planned up leading to Margie, and then Margie being the big marquee event. It was really heartbreaking to kind of see things fall off the calendar one by one, starting with the women's clinic in the spring, and then a couple races here and there, and then ultimately Margie. I guess
we were gonna both do the Bora Epic for the first time, and I think we also had Ore to Shore on the calendar at one point, and obviously the Copper Harbor Trails Fest weekend, which would have been this holiday weekend or this past holiday weekend, but I don't know. We've been doing so much riding up in the Northwoods, too. That's been really good. I'm pretty sure June and July we spent 6 or 8 weeks straight up north riding or kayaking.
Yeah. So I guess for me, having not really raced before, but having that kind of be, the purpose of this year going into it, as things started falling off, I just started focusing more on the fun and the skill development, and that's been really cool. But it's been a big adjustment from what I thought the year was going to look like, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Me too. We were talking the end of 2019 about me going out and racing in Big Sky and doing my first big mountain enduro, and unfortunately that couldn't happen this year, but next year, hopefully, for sure, we can do that, along with all these other cross-country races, which is pretty exciting. But I think the coolest thing for me, as, seeing you start cycling 2 years ago, kind of right after I got into it, and had raced, an my first amateur season, and then seeing, the Specialized 29er Jet Comp aluminum 29er hardtail 2x9 wasn't going to cut it for you. Tell me about that bike a little bit, because you were pretty excited when you got it, and then all of a sudden you started riding it and you didn't like it that much. So what kind of happened there?
I think part of it was it just really wasn't the bike for me. So right now I have an extra small Giuliana Furtado, and I think the Jet was a small.
Yeah, it was a small.
Yeah, it was a small hardtail with a 120. 100 fork. I don't even remember.
Yeah.
And it was a 29er, so I think a big part of it was, like, me not having the bike handling skills. Having a 29-inch wheel on this, like, teeny frame, it felt really disproportionate. And I think I didn't really take the time to, like, learn bike handling skills and figure out how to kind of make the bike work for me more. So I think a lot of it was just, like, it wasn't a good bike fit for me.
Yeah, I would agree. And also, you did start learning on flats, or on clips, before you went to flats when you were on the Specialized jet. And now you went straight to flats on your fat bike and your Juliana.
Mm-hmm.
And that has helped your riding immensely, so much that I decided to do it this summer too. And unbelievable skill development for me. I only have it on my long travel bike, but I never put them on my cross country bike or fat bike yet. But
yeah, I think not having to worry about being clipped in or, falling flat on my side.
Yeah.
It helped me build a lot more confidence around, like, rough, rocky terrain and practicing different features. So I think flats is a good choice for anyone learning to ride, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, like, one of my favorite times when you started riding, we went to Quarry Ridge Park I think it was your first night there, and you were on your Juliana. And I remember your first couple times you were, like, walking downhill, and, you only went down a couple of the sections that were actually climbing sections that were kind of technical, but you descended those. And, practice that. And then we go there a couple more times, and next week you were descending top to bottom of the hill and then climbing back up. Or we go to Camrock, and this is probably my favorite memory. It was in the snow, and we went to Mayor's Playground, and it was probably only 4 months old at the time, or 5 months old. And we were there at night, and we did 2 or 3 miles in from town. And I think we went up the hill once or twice on the fat bikes, and you were so tired. And then we went back, so it was only like a 7 or 6 mile ride. It took, an hour or more, it's all good. Excuse me. And then we went there on the Juliana after we had got a new bike trainer this winter, and went there on your new mountain bike. And I think you did like 6 or 7 laps up and down it. I went for like a 16-mile ride your first time out there, and kind of just fell in love with Camrock.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, the fat bike.
What kind of fat bike do you have?
It's salsa bear grease, extra small. Yeah, there was a while there where I was just kind of out of shape and, like, didn't really have the desire to, like, do any physical activity. And that's fine. But I think having the right bike and figuring out how to enjoy cycling was a really big impact on me, like, wanting to get more fit and me enjoying being out there. And to see my skill progression from, I would say, like, April, I really started riding. And then, by middle of June, being able to do a 30-mile day in Marquette on single track.
Yeah.
Like, crazy skill progression. I don't know. So, yeah, I'm excited. And
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for you, too. And, doing the Margie Gessick for the first time, being fresh meat. And I think before July, or before the end of July, you had done the last 15 of the Margie twice. Mm-hmm. Twice.
Yep.
And absolutely having no problem keep up. I'm pretty sure even on one of those where you weren't even too far off, I had set a PR because I had only finished it once. I had set a PR about like 40 minutes or something going through it.
Yeah.
And you were right there with the group the whole time anyway, so it didn't really, you were not the slowest person. And, for being a new rider, only, riding since April and only with a couple 100 miles under her belt at this time, it was truly, truly phenomenal. Like seeing you push your bike up House Rock faster than half the guys that were with us.
I think a big part of that is, I might not have the most technical skills out of anybody, but I feel like I excel with the perseverance, like having the heart to finish and wanting to get it done. Like having that drive is so much.
Yeah.
Especially in the Margie, from what I've heard and from what I've seen, supporting for a few years now.
Those are your thoughts on it? Okay.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. And so what kind of skills are you working on next? What are the big skills that you're working on?
Well, I think, boards always scare me.
Skinnies?
Skinnies and, even, some wider boardwalk type situations.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big mental block for me. So I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. And then obviously, progressing jumps and drops is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, stuff like that just takes time. And, having a bike that's mechanically capable of doing stuff like that, or just, doing it and having correct form and learning how to do it right from the get-go is definitely a huge help, because I spent 2 or 3 years crashing before stuff kind of clicked for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty cautious, I think, when it comes to, practicing bigger skills.
Yeah.
All my crashes have been on flat ground and on nothing overly technical.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it's just, I focus more when I'm doing something that challenges me. And I kind of, zone out, when I probably shouldn't. But...
Well, and that's the hard thing, too, is when you're in these bike races or just these long rides, have that be 2 hours or 4 hours or 12 hours or 24 hours. It's just hard, because if you go and ride something after, and you've been on the bike all day and half the night versus riding it in the first hour of riding, you will make stupid mistakes that you'd never make, even if it's, just an hour into the ride where maybe your hips are a little fatigued, or your shoulders, where it's like, oh, well, do I need to get my wheel over that, or will my suspension do it? And that's, for me, one of my favorite parts of mountain biking is just, always having the control and trying not to lose control of what my body's doing and how I am manipulating the inputs into my bike. So
when you do the long Margie or the 225, do you feel like that fatigue really impacts your riding, and what do you do to keep that at bay?
So for me, and doing it with the guys that I've done it with, I think talking absolutely helps, and trying to keep yourself sane, because you will absolutely get into those 2-hour slumps where oh wow, there's nobody in the group that's talking because we're all kind of in the pain cave and we're out of food and water or something. And that's really hard. But even this year, I crashed once during the Crusher in Mosquito Gulch, and that's just because I was turning around for a wrong turn and I didn't unclip and I fell flat right on my elbow. Those are the worst crashes for me, just because those hurt really bad. And I was really lucky that I didn't get cut up or worse. But that's the thing too, is when you're riding at night like that and you're really tired, you're probably actually pushing the ticket a little harder than you usually would, just because I think my max speed during the Crusher this year was almost 40 miles an hour, and I know for sure that was at night. At mile 200.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Once it gets dark and you kind of get tunnel vision, it doesn't feel like you're going as fast as you are.
Yeah.
For sure.
And, I think that's just because, like, you don't see everything except what's right in front of you. So, like,
Yeah, you lose that perspective a little bit.
Yeah. I think that's really... I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? Like, it's useful, like, might help you go a little faster, but, like, it can also be catastrophic.
So if you're going KOM hunting...
Ooh.
Might want to try at night next time.
That's true. We've both gotten a couple KOMs around Madison at night. I know that for sure. So this Giuliana Furtado, what made you decide to get this bike? Was it the price range, the suspension, component level, the fit?
I think it was a combination of a lot of different factors. Obviously, if you're going to buy a bike, you got to like how it looks. You got to think it's the right component level and the bike that'll do what you want to do. So I was really looking for something that was pretty versatile. Mm-hmm. That can do like cross-country stuff or, have fun riding in Marquette, Copper Harbor, some more technical stuff.
Not get too beat up.
Yeah. So the Furtado is a 130, and I have 27.5-inch wheels. And I really wanted to go smaller than the Jet, which was the 29. So I thought the 27.5 would be more nimble, more proportionate wheel size to me and the frame. And I think that's definitely proved true. Like, I feel more balanced, especially in cornering, than I ever did on the Jet.
Yeah.
And I'm riding a lot faster.
Yeah, you are. A lot faster.
So, I don't know. I think all around it just seemed like a good option. And for me, I'm 5'2", like low end of 5'2".
Yep.
And finding a frame that feels like it fits me is kind of difficult.
Mm-hmm. That isn't an S-Works, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about like bike brands and stuff, but obviously there's not too many people looking for extra small or small frames, so there's not a whole lot of availability. No, it's harder to get your hands on one.
Yeah.
It's harder to like find any to test ride. So, I don't know. I think it just seemed like the right thing to do. And I had been looking at bikes for a while, and I found this one. And, when you know.
All right. And this is going to be our second commercial. Big shout out to Hand Up Gloves, sponsoring our show, sponsoring our Instagram, YouTube. Thank you, Hand Up. Check them out. They got some new swag. Use TLR 2020 for a 20% discount code. Check them out.
Like, what do you not like about your bike? Because I know we have had some issues with suspension, maybe getting some nicer components on it. What have you done so far?
So far I have upgraded the grips in the saddle. So I'm running the Ergon, I think it's the GA2s, the ones with a little bit of wrist support. And I have the Ergon SM women's saddle. And that thing is amazing. Like, it totally changed my comfort on the bike and, like, how much control I feel like I have through the saddle. Yeah, so that's kind of neat. And then I switched out the NX derailleur for a GX derailleur.
Yep.
And then I have the GX shifter as well, as opposed to the NX shifter.
Yeah. So why did you feel like we needed to do that?
It just felt like kind of clunky, and the shifter it was like really hard to push,
and it was really loose.
It was like the trigger, I guess you would call it. It was like kind of jiggly.
Yeah, it had a lot of play in it compared to any GX that I've ever had, or X01 or XX1, where it's non-existent. And it's a really short trigger throw, but...
Yeah, so now with the GX derailleur, I think the derailleur made a huge difference, too, because it just feels so much more smooth now.
Yeah.
I feel like my power transfer is so much more fluid.
Well, and that's kind of interesting, too, because when we took that out and we were going to swap out the jockey wheels from the NX derailleur to the GX derailleur.
Yeah, because they were like brand new jockey wheels
on
the NX, and the GX were a little worn out.
Yeah, they had a good season of riding on them. Still in good shape, but the GX, or, the regular jockey wheels actually had, seal cartridge bearings like every other pulley or jockey pulley out there, and the NX didn't. It honestly it was bolted together, and it was held together by the bolt that holds it in the cage, and it was just plastic on aluminum and a little bit of Park Tool Teflon grease, which was really surprising for me. I mean, I know NX is kind of their bottom of the class group set, but I was just like, really? No sealed cartridge bearings? I was like, there was definitely a lot of friction there, because you could actually tighten up that bottom bolt
enough that it wouldn't, the jockey wheel wouldn't spin if you tightened it down too much.
Yeah, where, when you're sitting on the bearing, it, you can tighten it down and torque it down, and it spins perfectly. But,
yeah, so I think moving forward, I would definitely... go with the GX over the NX.
Yeah.
For sure.
And are you thinking of upgrading a drivetrain? I know we had worked out a little bit of a deal, if you had finished the Margie Gessick this year, which I would have had no doubt in my mind after seeing how she's been riding. But what were some of the upgrades that we were going to budget into the bike budget for next year?
I think the most excited that I was for the i9 wheel set.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Which one was that one?
That'd be good Margie motivation.
Ooh. I think for anybody out there, that's good Margie motivation. What kind of wheel set were you going for?
I think I was going to go with the aluminum, the cross country.
The trail. Yeah.
What was it? I don't know.
They're like the trail down country
I don't know what they're called.
rims.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was going to go with not the downhill ones, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I was going to go with either the Hydras or the...
1-to-1 hub.
1-to-1, yeah.
Yeah. Did you settle on having the regular spokes versus, the proprietary colored anodized aluminum spokes yet? Because...
Well, I think if you're going to do it, if you're going to take the leap, you might as well take the leap into the deep end.
Yeah, that's true. I wish I could too, but I'll let you test them out before I get a pair. All right, so now that we've talked about your bike, what do you feel, as a young woman in cycling, how do you feel, because, you've been going to races for me probably since 2016, 2017, have that be a Wars race or some of these longer races, even Wausau 24, that was a really fun event. How have you noticed as, a trail angel versus now moving into as a competitor, how has the cycling industry changed for women? Do you think it's more approachable? What do you think? Because I know there's a lot of women's clinics now that, really get you excited.
Yeah, so there's definitely been kind of an evolution in mountain biking with women. I think, as you get more women involved in anything, it's easier for other women to also get involved. And I think there's kind of been a shift from men being more welcoming to women. I know I've heard a lot of comments from various different people about oh, it's the man's sport for us to get away from our wives and things like that. And that's always kind of disheartening, but
yeah, I
think as a general whole, the cycling community is really open to anyone getting on bikes. Whether it's people who decided that they needed something to do to get out of the house during quarantine, so they decided to take up cycling, or whether it's a young cyclist or whether it's women, I think that it's been really cool to see this evolution of having a more welcoming, I would say, newbie-friendly environment in cycling.
Yeah. Do you think that's kind of changed just in the last year or 2 years? Or do you think that's only changed, like, how you see it because we're more in the cycling community now?
I would say that even since I really started cycling, there's been a lot more push to get more women involved on bikes.
Yeah.
And more youth involved on bikes. And I don't know, I mean, it does always help to feel included once you're already kind of included. But I think from what I've seen, there's a lot more people going to like weekly group rides that are new cyclists and, getting involved in trail building as a new cyclist. Like there's all these groups out there that are really warm and welcoming, but are intimidating if you don't know where to look or if you really are very unfamiliar with cycling.
Yeah. All right, Jenna. So what's been your favorite trip? I mean, I would say I've been all around the country riding bikes. I mean, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, everywhere in between that, Michigan, Wisconsin, I think even Iowa. But what's your favorite place that you've ever ridden or been on a bike trip?
I'm trying to think of all the places we've been, but
I mean,
I
Leadville,
would say,
Moab, where else?
Oh, like where I've ridden or where I haven't ridden?
Wherever.
I think the coolest place that we've gone, like destination-wise, is Moab.
Oh, Sedona?
Oh, Sedona's really cool too. I kind of like the vibe in Sedona.
Sedona's
better than the vibe in Moab.
Yeah. I mean, I love Moab. Like, I can't wait to go back. I love, like, Powell's Point out, like, in... Oh, where was that? In Utah with Ryan. Brian Head. That was really cool. But, like, Sedona, though, when we were there for the Sedona Festival this year, unbelievable. Like, the amount of people and the sponsors and all the brands, like... Oh my gosh, I was like a kid in the candy store, just like, oh, here's Santa Cruz, here's Trek, here's Specialized, here's Cushcore, here's all these other brands I've never even heard of, but I was like, I need to see your stuff. So that was pretty cool walking around there.
Yeah. I don't know, I think places that I've actually ridden, though, I haven't really ridden anywhere that's that out there. I've pretty much stuck to
west.
Wisconsin and the UP. So, I think so far my favorite local trail, like local to the Madison area, is definitely Camrock and Blackhawk. Blackhawk has a lot of really cool, like buildable features.
Yeah, everything.
It's really progressive.
Very progressive. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a lot of the Madison area. They're really good at building progressive trail, where you can ride the same trail countless different ways depending on what skill level you're at.
Oh, absolutely.
And you don't really get that in a lot of other trail systems. It's either you got the big line or the little baby green lines.
Yeah.
And it's not as, like, intermixed as it is here.
Well, that was, like, one thing that we found out the hard way that we never really even considered about the Copper Harbor Trail System. And we love Copper Harbor. I mean, we spend 4 to 6 weekends a year, long weekends a year in Copper Harbor. I mean, probably 3 weeks of our, at least, in Copper, riding, or kayaking or camping, whatever, all of it, soaking it in. But, like, you had shuttled, we went up, I think it was one of our first trips this year, we went with our good buddy Sean, and... he is a stump jumper. I was on my Stumpy. You were on your Juliana. And our first day there, we went through, what did we ride? Point Trail Phase 1.
I think it was the second day. Was that the first day?
I think it was the first morning we were there. We rode Phase 1, Point Trail, Phase 2, and then I think we might have done Paul's Plunge down, and it was, 30-some miles. So we're all a little tired. And you rode all that. You were great, having a great time. And then the next day we had gotten shuttle passes, which was great because I think they only allowed four people in the van and a driver. So we had 3. Mm-hmm. And most of the shuttles that we had was just the 3 of us anyway. So like the social distancing was great. But like when we'd go Brockway and, Sean and I were either riding Overflow or we were riding Danimal or Over the Edge, some of those trails like were not what you had thought they were for actually really riding. Because I think you'd only ever ridden a lot of the stuff from bottom up over on Mountain Lodge side and Garden Brook.
Yeah,
last
I had
summer.
ridden like Garden Brook and the Flow.
On a fat bike.
On a fat bike the year before, yeah, because I took the Bear Grease up there.
Because who were you riding with?
I was with Kate O'Malley.
Yeah. But, like, that's the thing where when we were on the Brockway side, coming down those wood bridges, going into Danimal, some of that stuff was a little eye-opening for you, right?
Oh, do you mean like the boardwalk serpentine thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my...
The skinny...
I was saying I was like scared of skinnies and boards. That's definitely...
Yeah.
Beyond my comfort right now. Is that little like swervy boardwalk section.
Yeah. But like that's the thing is what... and then we did like East Whooptity and Flow, and I think one of your favorite trails on Brockway was Daisy Dukes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Daisy Dukes is a fun little like rollers and little baby jumps.
Yeah.
It's just kind of fun and playful.
Yeah, I think I've only been down that trail once, and it was like 2 or 3 years ago. But I want to get back.
I think where you were going with this is like, in a lot of these destination like, trail areas, it's hard to find like a trail that everyone can enjoy riding. It's either like I'm riding and I'm having fun and I feel like I'm within my limits, or you guys are riding and having fun and there's not like a trail that's like technical but also like you can ride it. Yeah. Like anybody can ride it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. So, like, for me, I think the easiest way to get down Brockway is on Danimal. But, however, like, if you're going to flow Danimal, you have to be able to clear, like, 15-foot tables. Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't obviously have to, but, that's not the way that trail was meant to be ridden. But, I mean, there's, like, even though when we climbed over on East Bluff, that was great. And I had only ridden that once, and that was your first time down that during our YouTube video. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, what did you think of East Bluff? I mean, there are huge plans when you check out Aaron Rodgers' episode on the Lumpy Rim. Like, 120 miles out there that they have planned over the next 5-10 years. I mean, people have been coming to Copper Harbor for the last 3 decades, and there's only, at that time, there was only 15 miles of trail. Now they want to add 100? Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I was like, what do you think?
I think it's really cool. I think it's so exciting. The trail that's there right now, there's not a lot of it, but it's so good, and I'm so excited to see what they do with the rest of the hill. I mean, calling it a hill is kind of a disservice because it's a 2-mile climb, and it is a steep climb up to the top of this thing. Yeah. But it is so worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's How long did it take us to climb it? 20 minutes? 20,
maybe
30 minutes?
20 minutes, yeah. It's a hike if you're not a climber.
It is 2 miles almost exactly. So get ready. But the down is, like, if you're really flowing, it's still 8 to 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we stopped and, like, took some video and checked out some cool spots, and I think it was, like, 15 minutes for us.
Yeah.
So we weren't, like, in a hurry by any means, but...
It hooks up.
It was so good.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah,
I can't wait
exciting.
I cannot wait to see it in October. I am so excited. So, Jenna, what is, so how do you, now that you're developing some more skills and you've been riding in some pretty cool destination places, you've been fat biking, you got a full suspension, carbon mountain bike, how's it feel? Like, what's it mean, like, when you go and get, 2 hours a week or 6 hours a week out on the bike, how's it feel riding your bike that much? Does it get tiring? Do you love it?
I think it's a combination of a lot of different emotions. And a lot of it really depends on, like, my stress level outside of biking.
Yeah.
I feel like it can either go one of two ways. Like, I can have, or I guess more than 2 ways. Maybe it's more like 4 ways. I can have a really good day and then have a really good bike ride, and, like, life is great. I can have a really bad, stressful day and go for a bike ride, and it makes everything better. But on the flip side, I can be having a really good day and then have a really bad day on the bike. Like, whether it's a crash or, like, the bike just doesn't feel right. Like, it can ruin your day.
Or your lovely riding partner somehow just accidentally bumping your rear wheel with his front wheel. Maybe that could be a example of...
Yeah, that'll flip the mood real quick. Or, you can, like, have a terrible day to begin with, and then, sometimes I feel like either you really want to go ride, and so I go ride with you because I kind of feel like you want me to. Mm-hmm. Or I'll go ride and, like, think it's going to make me feel better, but it just, like, makes a terrible day worse. Yeah. So for me right now, I don't know if that's how it is for everybody, but that's kind of where I'm at. And I don't know, I feel like some of it has to do with, like, just your general mental state. Some of it has to do with the fact that I'm probably still learning. It's easier to have a bad day if you're trying to challenge yourself and do something new, and if it just doesn't go your way. But I will say I have had some very good moments on the bike, and I've also had some pretty, like, this is my last bike ride, I'm never doing this again moments.
Sure.
So.
You want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, I guess. So, I think, like, my favorite ride, like, my highest high for riding, was definitely up in Marquette. Either, I think, one of 2 days. There was a day where we rode. It was just, like, a chill Benson grade climb day, and then we, like, finished it up with Carpe Diem.
Ooh, yep.
And that trail is just, like, so flowy, so easy. Like, I don't know, it hooks up. It's good.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like a mellow, like, scenic, perfect end to the day.
Absolutely. That's where we were. Yeah, we went down off the backside of Benson. Mm-hmm. We went up Pipe Dreams because we wanted to see that part of the race course because that was part of your 50 course. And then you turn left on Carpe Diem off the new gravel road that they put in this summer of 2020. And then you descend back down to the NTN trailhead. And I think it's just 3.5 miles of the flowiest single track that Marquette has to offer.
I don't know. It's kind of almost like double track, though.
Yeah.
It's really wide single track.
Yeah. And smooth.
Yeah.
Really smooth. I mean, it's like Down Dogger wide all the way. Like, as wide as Down Dogger Trail. Like, at least 6 to 8 feet wide. So, Jenna, are you part of a cycling club or a team or anything? Who do you affiliate yourself with, your riding group?
I'm solo all the way on that one.
100% solo.
100%.
Have you ever done a bike race?
I guess technically, yeah. My first bike race would have been the Iola Snow Bully, which is a fat bike race out in Iola, Wisconsin at the Iola Winter Sports Club. I think it's in February every year.
Yep, I think the first week of February during the Iola Winter Sports Carnival or Winter Carnival.
Yeah, so they have this huge festival weekend of ski jumping and cross country ski races, and it's a whole big thing.
Yep. We kick it off on Friday night.
Yeah, so Friday night it's a fat bike race on groomed ski trail. Yeah. And it's under the lights, so they have all the ski trail lights lit up. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. So that was my first bike race, and I think I did that in 2018.
Yeah, I think it was 2018.
Or it was 2019. Yep. 2019. Yeah, so that was but that's the only bike race that I myself have participated in.
Did it kind of feel so my wife was a phenomenal track and field athlete throughout high school and college. Very successful. Conference qualifier. Really, all conference cross-country runner. And how does that feel like bike racing compared to running track or cross-country? Is there any correlation there, or is it totally different?
I think for me, having that experience with being so... everything was about being competitive. And I really, after graduating and, not being on the team anymore, it took me a little while to, I guess, deal with all that entailed. Being a competitor and being an athlete is such a big part of your life. In college, you're talking 60 hours a week. Your teammates are the people you live with, and you eat dinner with them, and you spend every weekend with them, and you study with them because you're in all the same classes.
Yep.
It is your life. And I think moving on from that, it really took me a long time to I guess realign what being an athlete meant to me and figuring out what I wanted that to look like, and also dealing with a lot of the emotions that came with being an athlete for me. So I kind of went on a little hiatus and was very not competitive, and like I said, I think I mentioned it before that I went through a phase where I didn't really want to work out. I didn't really want to go run. Biking didn't really seem appealing to me. So I think after getting over that, for me, biking is a lot more about having fun, having a stress relief.
Yeah.
And, doing hard things, and, challenging myself more than it is about, winning or being competitive. Or, trying to prove that I can be better than someone. KOMs are cool, though. I'm down with those.
Yeah, that's true. I think there's a couple sprints that you've gotten at a local cyclocross course that you did not know you were going to get. I think you were just following me one night, and I think you got, one or two of them. So that was pretty cool to see, too.
Yeah, for sure.
So you were signed up for the Margie Gessick 50. It's going to happen next year.
Well, but I was signed up for the 50-mile run.
Oh, that's right.
Originally. Yeah, the 50-mile run, not the bike. And then I decided I was going to do the bike.
When you didn't have a bike yet. When you only had your bear grease fully rigid.
Yeah, so I was like, this is going to be my big comeback. And I started running, like, more than I had been.
The comeback of 2020. Yes.
It was going to be good. And then I was like, oh, what if I get a new, like, full suspension bike? What if I, like, do the bike instead of the run? And then it kind of evolved once I got the Juliana and, like, really started riding.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was originally signed up for the run. So with all
these races being canceled, and you kind of saw some of the I don't even know if you could call it fun that I had during the Crusher. Are you considering doing the Crusher too? I know we've kind of talked about it over dinner. I know we do have a weekend coming up where we were planning to be in Marquette anyways, but...
Yeah, so we have a weekend trip planned up in Marquette. I have kind of, like, gone back and forth about doing the Crusher or not. I kind of want to do the 40, and I kind of want to do it by myself. I don't know, I just kind of want to see what, like, I feel like I'm capable of finishing it, but I kind of want to, like, prove to myself that I can do it,
Yeah.
And I've done, like, longer rides. I've done 30, 40-mile rides, but I've never done a ride like that by myself.
Yeah, that's true.
So...
I mean, you've gone to some dark places, too, and, on a 30 or 40-mile day in Marquette, doing some pretty technical single track, where you may have had some choice words with me and Bryce and Paul as we were running away from horses that were chasing us, and some guys fenced in pasture or something. Don't talk about that. That was an adventure. Anyways, so we just we weren't lost. We were just
taking a detour.
A little detour. We were postponed from finishing for a second. I'm pretty sure we only went that way because somebody had to get back as soon as possible.
No? Then why are you looking at me? I didn't have the Garmin.
That's true. Now you have a Garmin. Don't you?
Yeah.
I know you do. Okay. So, like, what kind of gear do you think you're going to need for this 40-mile Crusher ride? Do you think you need anything that you don't have? I mean, what would you bring on this ride?
I'd bring my, like, Camelback Chase vest, for sure. I could probably steal some of your tools.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We have, like, a communal headlight pile I could steal from.
Yeah.
Hopefully I wouldn't need them, but...
Hopefully you wouldn't need them.
You gotta have them. I don't know, I feel like from everything that you've done, like, we have enough of, like, the gear.
Mm-hmm.
I have some nice kits. I would just wear one of those. I could probably go for, like, a new jacket. Like, I don't really have, like, a good, like, cycling, like, rain jacket or, like, warmth jacket.
Because you got me that Pearl Izumi thin rain kind of
like,
windbreaker.
the light packable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have some... You have, like, a nice rain jacket, but it's not very thin.
No, I wouldn't want to carry that around all day.
That's a good point.
I don't know. I think I have...
Because, like, you have your Sodero. Mm-hmm. So, like, you have your top tube Sodero, where I absolutely love the Sodero products. So do you. Would you want to use, like, the other two Sodero bags, like the wedgie or the I don't know, barrel, the handlebar bag?
I don't know. So, on my bike, being an extra small frame, like, there's not a lot of room. I can barely get a small, like, you know how there's the two main sizes of water bottles? You get, like, the 20 ounce and, like, the 12 ounce or whatever they are.
Yeah.
I can barely get a small water bottle.
Yeah.
In my frame. because it like, even with the small one, it kind of rubs on the rear suspension. Like, you just kind of got to wedge it in there a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of room.
But you do have a water bottle mount on your down tube, too.
Yeah, I do.
That you've never used.
I would like to get, like, one of those can things.
Yeah.
You know, like, you put it in the water bottle mount, but it's like a can with a lid on it. Mm-hmm. I think that would be nice to use down there. Mm-hmm. Just because then when you get, like, dirt and muck and whatever on it, you don't have to really worry about it. But even with the top tube bag, like, there's not enough room between, like, my seat and the bag and, like, where my body needs to go.
Sure.
It's just, like, I like it for shorter rides, but I feel like it would get annoying. I don't know. Like, the more I ride with it, like, it's convenient to have it there.
Yeah.
But it's also, like, it doesn't give me the same, like, maneuverability as I have without it there.
Yeah.
Just because it makes it feel cramped.
That's fair. I think anybody can agree with that. I mean...
Yeah, but imagine if it's, like...
Yeah,
4 inches from your seat.
Yeah, I mean, I ride XL frame, so it's no problem for me. But I could definitely see how it could be an issue for you. It definitely might be a little more challenging to get on the bike with all those bags on there. What else? So, what kind of helmet do you have? I know you've went through a couple helmets this year.
Yeah, I've gone through a couple helmets this year. Damaged helmets. So I had the, like, Specialized Pro, I think. It's kind of like their middle of the road, like, more of a road cycling helmet. Mm-hmm. But now I have the 100% All-Tech. Mm-hmm. And it is amazing. It is an amazing helmet.
Yeah, it's pretty clean.
Yeah. It's, great airflow, super comfortable. I feel like it just fits my head shape.
Yep.
It's cool. Yeah. So, I don't know. I might want to, like, try out a pair of gloves or something.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think I'm pretty comfortable with my current setup.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're pretty ready for the Crusher 40. I mean, you're pretty much going in ready for the Crusher 50. But I think you just need a couple good weeks here before you go and do the Crusher, a couple long rides, and no problem. So.
All about the heart.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, Jenna, I really appreciate you taking your time, being on the show. It's not like we had a whole lot else going on tonight, but thank you for being on episode 12 of the LumpyRim Podcast. I love you. You've been an amazing person for me and supported me through cycling the last, 10 years that I've known you, and I really appreciate it. So.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for finally getting me on here. It's been a journey to see this show grow and to be a part of the cycling community and get more involved.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for episode 12 of the LumpyRim Podcast, and stay tuned for episode 13.